soldier of King James, and I am a soldier of Scotland. Now, most of you may recognise what I'm wearing as what we now call the national dress of Scotland, the kilt. What I'm actually wearing is not a kilt. The word kilt is not even Scottish, it's Scandinavian. Kilta means above the knee. This is what we call in Gaelic, the language of the Highlands of Scotland. This is what we call the fili mor. The fili mor in Gaelic, in English, quite simply, the big blanket. Now, in a few moments' time, I am going to show you just how this is constructed and worn, all put together in this nice Highland package. Now, of course, the kilt today, very famous throughout the world, is Scotland's national dress, but it was not always the case. The truth of the matter is this: 260 years ago, if you were seen dressed like me in Edinburgh, you would be treated with quite a bit of suspicion, and you would be treated with hatred. The Highland clansmen of Scotland were completely different from the Lowlanders here in Scotland. Now, is there anybody here from England? Is there any English people here? Splendid. And don't be ashamed of it. Now, where in England are you from? The Midlands. Whereabouts in the Midlands? Near Wolverhampton. Jolly good. Now, I have been down to Midlands, and sadly no longer the industrial place it once was. Have you ever been called a Sassenach? You've been referred to as a Sassenach. Now, you English people are going to enjoy this, because sadly, many people think the Sassenachs is a Scottish word for the Englander. It's not. We have other words for English people that I can't say. The word Sassenach, sir, means the southerner. It means the southerner. It does not mean the Englander. People here in Edinburgh were Sassenachs. People in Glasgow are Sassenachs. People, Lanarkshire, Ayrshire, the Borders, they're all Sassenachs. The word Sassenach, it's not a dirty word, it just means the southerner. Anybody south of the Highland line in Scotland is a Sassenach. It's a Gaelic word, it means the southerner, not the Englander, sir, as you would have been led to believe. Now, the Sassenachs in Edinburgh are completely different from the Highlanders. In 1745, Charles Edward Stuart, Pontarlier, better known as Bonnie Prince Charles, came from France to Scotland to reclaim his rightful position as King of Britain and Ireland. His family were deposed in 1689 in Scotland in favour of the Dutch King, William of Orange. Now, is there anybody here from Holland? Good answer. Now, they were deposed because of their Roman Catholicism, and Charles Edward Stuart in 1745 thought the time was right to reclaim Scotland as well as England for his father, James VIII. Now, when he comes to Scotland, he does not come immediately to Edinburgh or Glasgow, the two principal cities. The reason being, people in Edinburgh, people in Glasgow are more or less dressing more or less the same culture as people in London, as people in Paris. They are different, very different from the people from the Highlands of Scotland. The Highlanders, or we call them the Gaeltach, have stuck to the old traditional ways of dress and, more importantly, traditional ways of life and language. When they come into here in September of 1745, the people of Edinburgh were so brave that they withstood the bombardment of abuse for at least half a minute. The people of Edinburgh were afraid of the Highland host. When they walk into Edinburgh, they are treated with fear and treated with suspicion. Now, of course, the main object was to take the castle. This castle has never in its entire history been taken by siege, and the Jacobites were not good enough to do it either. Bonnie Prince Charlie lorded it up at Holyrood Palace, and he declared Scotland a free and independent nation once again. Rather sadly, he then dropped a bombshell on the Highland clansmen, who had never even left the Highlands before, and he told them they're crossing the border and they're going to England. Now, the reason he was taking the Highlanders into England was to reclaim his rightful position as King of England as well. The idea was to march upon London. Now, they never got to London, but they did get as far as a place called Ashfield in Derby, about 120 miles north of London, the Midlands of England. Whilst they were there, we have an English artist, an Englishman, responsible for actually recording how the Highlanders dressed. If this English artist had not sketched these Highland clansmen, it might have been lost forever how to actually wear the Philly-Moore. It doesn't pain me to say it, but we have this Englishman to thank. Highland history was mostly oral, passed down word of mouth, but these English artists sketched the Highland clansmen. I'm going to show you how it was done. Now, first of all, I'll move this out of the way. First of all, they take their Philly-Moore. Now, this is a modern clan tartan, and the reason I call it a modern clan tartan is this. The Highland clans never ever had a system of clan tartans until about 220 years ago. If anybody here, is there anybody apart from me who actually is Scottish? Didn't think so. That's because we have to pay into the castle. Now, is there anybody here who has got Highland or Scottish ancestry? Does anybody here get Scottish ancestry? Maybe if you, where are you from?
The States.
The States. And what do you know what your Scottish ancestry is?
McDougall.
Oh, the McDougalls, yeah. They were all thieves. Right, the McDougalls. They're descended from Vikings, the McDougalls, and the McDougalls fought against Robert the Bruce, so I don't really like the McDougalls. Anybody else? And what's your... Oh, the Sutherland. Well, we can't argue with that because you can't get any further north than Sutherland, believe it or not. The Sutherland actually means the South Lands, but in Scotland it's actually the furthest north. And where are you from? You're Australia, aren't you? And what's your... Wallace, yeah, everybody loves a Wallace. Great patriot. Did you see his statue outside? That was modelled in me, you know. And anybody else here? The Murrays, yeah, no, the Murrays were great. When they had nobody to fight, they used to fight themselves, the Murrays. They were great lives. Rob, have him arrested. Thumb screws, get him thrown out. You stay right there, Campbell, because you are the end of my story and almost the end of my clan. Yeah. And what about you there? Fergusons, they were great pipers, the Fergusons. They were brilliant pipers. Now, if you're not Scottish, or if you don't have Scottish ancestry, don't worry, because the only thing you are missing is a superiority complex. That's the only thing. We Scots, we like to think the world wouldn't function without us, but the simple fact, it would go on. We made a few good inventions, no big deal, pneumatic tyres, television, whisky. What more does a man need? Not a lot. So, don't worry if you're not Scottish, because you don't need to be Scottish or of Scottish ancestry to wear the kilt. Now, clan tartans did not exist at the time of the Jacobite uprising. After the uprising, it became popular to wear tartan when the king was visiting this country. Now, this is modern clan tartan, this is not. This is Buchanan tartan, and it looks as if someone was sick and drew some lines through it. This is perhaps the ugliest clan tartan I have ever came across. Now, I'm a Robertson. I have 5 clan tartans to this day. The McDonalds have 12 clan tartans, which is astonishing because McDonalds can't even count to 12. Now, the Highlander simply puts his Philly-Moore out like this. Just push it out the ground like this. This is only 9 foot long. What I am wearing is nearly 16 foot long. This is nearly 16 foot long. This is for quickness. Now, the English artists noticed the Highland clansmen, they would go into the camps of a morning and they noticed the way they did it and they started to draw it. Now, the Highlander would spread it out on the ground like so. He stands on the very edge, he drops to his knees like this, and he starts to form a series of pleats. Now, these pleats are simply to give it a nice pattern at the back. It's not ceremonial, it's not religious, and it's not done in special occasions. It simply gives us a nice finish at the back, and we never, ever, unlike today, we never, ever stitch these in. These are just temporary. Now, I'm looking for a young volunteer. What about you, Madam Ferguson? Would you like to help me here? OK, take your bag off. And who's with you today? Have you got a camera? Yeah, if you come up with her, bring your big sister up there, Madam Ferguson. It's great. Up we come. Up we come. And what's your first name?
Emily.
Emily, that's not very Scottish. We'll call you Morag. Right. Now, and is this your big sister?
No, that's my mom.
Oh, that's your mum, sorry. Mum, if you would like to stand over there, you'll get some better pictures. Now, where are you from?
Canada.
Whereabouts in Canada?
Well, we're military, so we move around, but...
Oh, you're spies?
Yeah. I grew up in Renfrew.
Uh-huh.
And,
And where's Renfrew? Is that Ontario?
Ontario.
Yeah. Is it near Sauble Beach? No?
No.
No, you stand over there. Right. So, what we've got is, we've got Angus, and Angus is going to be the best dressed Canadian ever. I've been to Canadian land, and I've got to say, if anybody needs a decent national dress, it's the Canadians. Now, what I want to do is, Angus, I want you just to sit on the plates here at the back. You sit down in the middle there. That's brilliant. And put your legs out flat in front of you like that, and then lie back like this. Put your hands above your head and just think about Tim Hawkins. Now, what we do is, the Highlander takes the first part of the Fairly Moor and just places it just above the knees. He takes the next part and he does exactly the same. Now, as I said, if it wasn't for these English artists, this would have been lost almost forever. Now, what we'll do is, Angus will let you breathe there. That's it, you just stay right there. Now, the whole thing is simplicity, but it is in fact ingenious. Now, all we need to hold it together is a piece of rope or a leather belt like mine. Now, Angus, this needs to be very tight, alright? It could be so tight you could die. Is that alright? Excellent. Right, now you lift your butt. That's a big butt. Right, and back down. And then this has to be very tight. You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Now, it has to be tight or it would simply fall apart. Now, if you give me both your hands, Angus, up we get, and then we step back over here like this. At this stage, it looks now, at this stage, it looks as if I've done it wrong, but it's quite simple. Now, if you look round the back there, it looks as if we've just got 2 pieces of strip. This, oh, there's better. This here, what we do is, you take this corner, you hold that there, Angus, like that, and then we take this part here, like this, and you hold it tightly, and at this point, you pretend you're William Wallace and Braveheart, Mel Gibson, you go, yay! And that's good, because you're about the height of Mel Gibson. Now, what we do is, we turn it around like this, we take this corner, and we give her what we call in Gaelic a reverse wedgie. You chuck that round the back of the belt, and then you chuck this part also down the back of the belt. You then take this and gather it over like so, flip that in there. Not yet, not yet, not yet.